Hey, what's up? Alright, so I'm gonna do a video about, like, childhood and things you're taught to believe as a child. You know, things like, the Easter Bunny and monsters that live under your bed and, like, Native Americans and, like, Santa Claus and all this stuff. But one of the things that I experienced as a child was the Tooth Fairy. And I'm gonna tell you, like, my experience with the Tooth Fairy. Alright, so I was like 6 and I lost this tooth. Yeah, this tooth, I believe. And my parents were like, oh, put it under your bed because, Tooth Fairy's gonna come, right? So I went over to my friend's house and I put the tooth under my pillow and I'm like, oh, I hope the Tooth Fairy comes here, because I don't live here. And so I'm lying face down, and I'm like thinking, oh, I'm going to trick the Tooth Fairy when she comes, because, as soon as she puts her hand on my pillow, I'm going to pop her in the face and, like, take all the money. But, yeah. So I was sleeping, and the door opens, and I'm like, oh my god, here comes the Tooth Fairy, she is real. And this guy walks in, he's like, hey, I'm the Tooth Fairy. And there's this big guy with, like, with a dirty wife beater, and he's got stains all over the place, and he smells like beer and cigarettes, and he's got this nasty looking, like, patch of hair growing on his face. You're just like, what the hell? Like, what has Disney been feeding us all this crap? And so I kind of just closed my eyes and pretended to go back to sleep. And so he comes over, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess this is the Tooth Fairy, Now, I might as well just be asleep, because I think this guy can kick my ass. So the Tooth Fairy puts his hand on your head, and then he, like, touches, like, pats you down, rubs your body down, just to make sure you're not awake and you're not trying to trick him. So you're just like, oh, okay. And you don't move or anything, because if you startle him by waking up, he's gonna fly away. So I didn't move or anything, and he told me to just pretend that, he tells you that to keep dreaming. And then he pulled out his magic wand and he, hit me on the back of the head with his magic wand and, just smacked me in the back and just all the way down. And I guess the Tooth Fairy takes off your clothes. He moves the blanket, and I guess he takes off your clothes to make sure that, you haven't forgotten to put the tooth under the pillow. I guess he, wants to check your pockets and your socks or whatever, your underwear. And so I'm just laying there face down, cold and naked. And I'm like, man, is this Tooth Fairy gonna hurry up or what? And, he hits you on the back of the head and I guess you fall asleep. Just to make sure. So, you guys remember, the morning after the Tooth Fairy visits you guys, right? You remember those days in your childhood where you're just, you feel like you've been hit by a truck. You wake up after the Tooth Fairy visits you, and you wake up and you've got dry tears on your face, and you've got blood in your nose, and you've got bite marks on your shoulder, and your mouth is sore, and your bum is sore, and you're naked, and you're confused, and you want to smoke a cigarette at 6 years old, and your sheets are on the floor, and they're covered with magic goo from the Tooth Fairy's magic wand, and you look under your pillow, and there's no tooth and no money, and you remember being pissed, because I was pissed that first morning, because I was like, well, shit, Tooth Fairy, gypped me, took my tooth and my money, Tooth Fairy's a fucking asshole. So like, I left my friend's guest bedroom because that's where I was staying the first time. And I walked into the kitchen and I looked on the kitchen counter and there was $1 and it said, "To Oliver from the Tooth Fairy." And I was like, oh shit, son, that's $1 for like a tooth. You know, you've got like 31 more to go, so that's like 31 more dollars you've got to get. But you know what's odd is I don't remember the Tooth Fairy visiting me after that. It's weird. It's like, I mean, I would get money for my teeth, but you know, actually, I don't remember waking up all sore and covered in goo. But anyways, you've all had that experience, right? But yeah, so that is how the Tooth Fairy visits you for the first time. Because the Tooth Fairy is real, and remember, he has a beard, and he smells like beer and cigarettes, and oh, I remember he took his finger and he put it in his belly button and was like, "Here, smell this," you know, try to get me to wake up, and I was just like, ooh, but I didn't wake up, right? Because, you know, he's trying to trick you. But yeah, so that's the Tooth Fairy. That's what we believed in as children. We all share that experience. And right, have a good night.